First at 5 o'clock, we start with that federal takeover of the D.C. Police Department and the deployment of the National Guard to the streets of D.C. Thanks for being with us this Tuesday morning. I'm Adriana Hopkins.
And I'm Melanie Hastings in for Adam Longo. The Army says 800 National Guard troops will be deployed over the next few days. All of this part of President Trump's effort to crack down on crime in the nation's capital. Now, overnight, we learned of a grim milestone for crime in D.C. Shortly before 11 p.m., D.C. police confirmed a man died after being shot in D.C.'s Logan Circle neighborhood. And according to MPD data, this is D.C.'s 100th homicide of the year so far. At last check, police are still looking for the shooter. Well, Logan Circle is just one of several spots around D.C. that are seeing an increased federal law enforcement presence ahead of the arrival of the National Guard. And 7 News is on your side. We've got team coverage of the president's crime crackdown in D.C. John Rogers is following the massive reaction to it. But let's start with John Gonzalez, live for us outside MPD headquarters. John, the president promising crime will fall and quickly.
That's right. Good morning, Adriana and Melanie. We're keeping a close eye on MPD headquarters and also the D.C. Armory for any movement on the National Guard there this morning. This move comes under a rarely used provision, part of the city's Home Rule Act, that essentially allows the president to declare a public safety emergency. Now, the president says the plan is designed to, quote, take back the Capitol, citing concerns over crime, homelessness, and what he calls deteriorating conditions in the city. So about 800 members of the D.C. National Guard are being deployed this week alongside hundreds of federal law enforcement officers from agencies including the FBI, DEA, and the ATF. Local leaders pushed back immediately, calling the takeover unlawful and unnecessary. Demonstrators, take a look, rallied outside of the White House during yesterday's press conference, demanding D.C. remain under local control. President Trump says federal oversight could last up to 30 days, though he's considering longer-term options.
It's becoming a situation of complete and total lawlessness. And we're getting rid of the slums, too. We have slums here. We're getting rid of them. I know it's not politically correct. You'll say, oh, so terrible. No, we're getting rid of the slums where they live.
We are going to do our level best to maintain, as the chief talked about, to maintain the trust that D.C. residents have in us. What could be a disaster is if we lose communities who won't call the police. That could be a disaster.
Now, the local police union did put out a statement saying that it backs the federal move for now, but says the real change will take more officers, more resources, and rolling back what they call damaging local laws in recent years. Reporting live outside of MPD headquarters, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
John, thanks. I'm John Rogers here at the Alert Desk, and this federal takeover certainly has many across the DMV talking. So I took out this small assortment of reaction from local leaders to give you a glimpse of just how local officials are feeling. Let's start with Councilmember Charles Allen saying the president taking over local control of this and putting the U.S. military on the streets of D.C. is wrong. It's extreme, outrageous, and dangerous for our city. But the D.C. Police Union, they shot back at Charles Allen, saying, very brave of you to post this since it's entirely your fault. Treyon White, he weighed in on Instagram with this very long post, basically saying that Trump is not totally wrong on this one, and he thinks this is good and that there are efforts to really fight crime. He even pointed out how a couple years ago he asked for additional support in D.C. after 922 people were shot in 1 year. But let's go on here from some other people. Senator Angela Alsobrooks say that if Trump actually cared about the well-being of D.C., he wouldn't have blocked D.C. from spending its own money in the way it saw fit. Let's go hear from Senator Tim Kaine saying that if he really cared about safety in D.C., he would have deployed the National Guard on January 6, 2021. Governor Glenn Youngkin saying it's a bad day for criminals in D.C. Thank you, President Trump. Whereas Wes Moore is saying this decision is dangerous and lacks seriousness. We also hear from Republican Congressman Andy Harris saying that we cannot allow our nation's capital to be a haven for crime. President Trump is leading the charge. So definitely a lot of varying opinions on this matter.
Hands off! Hands off! Our city!
Well, some are pushing back against this federal takeover of D.C. police. You see this group here gathered in Northwest yesterday for what they call the Free D.C. rally. Organizers say they want to make it clear that the district belongs to the people who live there and not the government. Protesters also gathered in DuPont Circle and marched down 14th Street. The group also protesting the increased federal law enforcement presence. They marched after meeting in the park at the center of the circle, which is under federal jurisdiction. And in recent weeks, law enforcement has been cracking down on marijuana offenses in that park.
And also pushing back, D.C. Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. She's calling President Trump's actions, quote, unprecedented. Norton says she and Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen will reintroduce their bills that would permanently give D.C. full control over the D.C. National Guard and MPD. They plan to bring up that legislation when Congress reconvenes next month.
Well, now is your chance to weigh in. So scan the QR code you see here on the screen. We want to know, are you satisfied with how D.C. leaders have handled crime? And so far, a majority of you, the hundreds of you who voted, 76%, you say no. And stay with 7 News as we continue to follow the federal takeover of D.C. police. We have the president's full comments on our homepage, along with reaction from D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, and we'll have much more coming up at 5:30.